Golden State Media Concepts bring you Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is the podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah, and I am so happy to be with you on this eve of the weekend. It is Friday. I hope you have something fun planned for the weekend regardless of the craziness of our world right now. I'm trying to think if we have anything fun planned for this weekend besides hopefully a couple of naps. That's my hope. Naps are always my hope. Naps and reading. I'm a simple woman. Yeah, I can't think of anything. Maybe a bike ride. Hopefully there will be a bike ride in there or something. At any rate, I hope that your weekend is shaping up to look a little better than mine. I clearly have not planned ahead on this one. So, as I mentioned at the end of the last episode, I do have another author interview today. I am speaking with James Cooley, and we are talking about his new memoir. It's called Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet. James Cooley's mother had 10 children by 6 different fathers. She knew she could not care for all of her sons and daughters, living as they did in the projects of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So she sent James and his older brother to live with their aunt and uncle in the tiny farming town of Graham, Alabama. Through humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James Cooley paints a picture about his arrival in that rural town in the Deep South and his immediate realization that his life would never be the same again. In vivid detail, Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and then back again to city life. Along the way, the lessons he learned molded him into a successful member of his community and a proud servant to his country. Now he shares those hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and the heroes who are helping them on their journey. So that is the description of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley. You can see that it is part memoir, part, I guess, self-help, but it doesn't feel like a self-help book. It's there's got to be a better term for this, and I'm sure that there is. And please let me know what my brain is not producing at the moment. But it's really a book of encouragement. It's James taking his own experiences and sharing those experiences so that people can see what the possibilities are. Because his childhood was not ideal; it was difficult, but he was able, through the encouragement of a few key people in his life and his own determination, to become an active member of the United States Navy, where he had a fairly long career, and then he is now the president and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options and Opportunities. It's called the Choice Program. He has written and produced several plays, was the director, producer, and host of Cooley's Fitness Tips, a television show that provided fitness tips and insight for United States Navy active duty and retired veterans to maintain military fitness readiness. So he has definitely had an interesting life, one full of lots of experiences, and he is one of the most positive people I have ever talked to. I talk to a lot of amazing authors and amazing people. James just has a really calm, centered, positive attitude, and it was a joy to speak with him during this interview. So let's go ahead and turn now to that interview. Again, the book is called Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, and the author is James Cooley. Hi, James. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be invited to this, and I'm looking forward to it. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to talking with you as well. We're going to talk about your memoir, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet. Before we get to the book, though, if you could share a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
No problem. Well, I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as I mentioned in the book. I went in the military. I spent 23 years in the military, the United States Navy. I retired as a United States Naval officer. And a couple of things I did. I was an aerospace engineer, system security engineer with Lockheed Martin. I'm retired from that as well. And currently, I run my own nonprofit organization called the James Cooley Foundation for Options, Opportunities / the Choice Program. That basically what we try to do is instill leadership, confidence, and everything it takes for our youth and young adults to grow up and get an opportunity to be our future leaders of tomorrow. Another thing, I'm the host of a national radio show and podcast. It's called It's Your Life, and I host that with my co-host is Ray Leonard Jr. Yes, he's the son of the six-time world champ, and so we've been doing that for about 3 months now, and I'll tell you, it's just taken off. I mean, especially with the release of my new book, a lot of these opportunities came my way. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm just happy to have this opportunity.
All right, and we'll get to know you a little bit more throughout the interview because this is a story of parts of your life. Can you give a brief overview of the memoir?
Yes, a brief overview. The book is about a little boy whose mother had 10 children by 6 different fathers, and she was never married, and so she knew that she could not take care of all of her kids as a single parent, so she decided to send my brother Jerry, number 6, and myself, number 7 in the chain, to Graham, Alabama, to live with my aunt and uncle and grandmother. And basically, the book goes into detail of how coming from the city, which was Chattanooga, Tennessee, and transitioning to the country, which was Graham, Alabama, the transition that you go through, because the book also, and we'll go into detail, just it talks about the transitioning and how that led to experiences and work ethics, and it kind of shaped me to the person that I am today, going back and forth through that transition.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. My husband's family is from Ethelsville, Alabama, so that's a very tiny little town. I understand a little bit about the small townness. How large was Graham?
Graham, Alabama is probably about 400 people or less. And
Yep.
funny is that most of the folks that are in that town are related. I mean, I'm talking about really related. I mean, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So you know how small. So it's a small town, about 400. I'd say 450 folks, and real tiny town. The biggest store or whatever is shopping, you have to travel about 25 miles or 30 miles.
Mhm. Yep. That's amazing. That I can only imagine that would have been quite the transition for you, going from a large city to not even a town, really.
Well, it was a major transition because Chattanooga is not a real small city. It's probably about 150,000, maybe a little bit more. And, in the city, you got everything. Running water, you got all of these different amenities. I mean, you got everything. But then transitioning to Graham, Alabama, when I got there was no running water in the house. There was no electricity in the house. There was no bathroom in the house. You had an outhouse. You had to go and catch your own food. So and that's just it's was a big change, and thinking that you leave in this big city where they got all of these things to actually go into a place where you have to get inspired, and you have to actually put the work in. And, I tell you, it builds what I believe a great work ethic.
Now that you've gotten a bit of an idea of James and this book, Country Boy, City Boy, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the podcast. When we come back, we'll be talking more about the book and how there are several key incidents and people in James's life that helped to shape his journey and his path and his road to where he is now. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I'll be right back.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco, ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. I am speaking today with James Cooley about his memoir, Country Boy, City Boy. Let's go ahead and turn now to back to that interview.
Yeah, absolutely. The book takes place over a period of time because it does go through your childhood as well as your time in the Navy. It feels to me like it's a series of vignettes that talk about choices or milestones, so things in your life that really did affect the trajectory of your life. Can you talk a bit about which segments of your life you chose to put in the story and how that process worked for you?
Sure. Actually, the book goes from the time that I was 6 years old all the way up to the time that I released it. So if you read the book, you'll see that it goes through phases. It's probably about 10 different phases in the book that describes the development of the person. It described everything that took place in the shaping of this young boy to grow up to be successful. I mean, at least I like to consider myself that, and to go through the transition, what it took to actually meet each one of the milestones. So, um, it has several different phases to it.
Okay. What inspired you initially to write this story down?
Oh, that's a great question. So basically, what inspired me was that during the beginning of the phases, uh, I mean, poverty, uneducated, um, and just not knowing, and I mean, going through the situations, the project and games and etc. And I knew that my father wasn't around to be a father. And basically, what inspired me was that I know that even today, that we have young men and young women, young men and young women going through the same thing that I might have been going through during my transition, and they do not know where to turn, or they do not see hope. And hope is the main thing that I'm trying to instill in these young men, young women, young adults, and everybody, that regardless of what situation or circumstances that you might have been born in, I mean, there is always hope if you understand what we call birthrights. Birthrights are confidence, courage, hope, belief, and most important, faith. That you might not start off at the top. I mean, because you don't know where God is leading you, but you just have to follow the transition and make the right decisions. I don't like to say choices, because I believe that everything is a decision point. But you have to make the right decisions. I mean, even though you might get it wrong the first 3 or 4 times, but if you continue to do it, as long as you don't make the wrong choice, that you can grow up, you can learn, and you can be who you can be who you choose to be. I mean, because it's all about the choice. So basically, what inspired me is, like I mentioned, is there are kids, young adults, even older adults that might be in a situation where they don't think it's a hope. And I believe that my story tells them that there is hope. And you look at this guy right here. I mean, he went from here over a period of time. It didn't happen overnight, but you just have to believe in yourself.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that. This is a memoir, but you also have a book. Let's see, My Path, the Book of Knowledge, your pathway to enlightenment. That is. Can you talk a little bit about that book?
Okay. Yes. So those are my early writings. My path. I was encouraged by a older gentleman that I met, and he kind of got a chance to know me a little bit, and basically my first writing was My Path, and basically it talks about that each one of us has a different path or a different destiny, but in order to really find out who you are, there are several destinations that are going to occur in your life, and that you just have to just be open-minded and positive. So My Path is a writing. It's a short story that I wrote. It's about a young man graduating from high school, which was myself, and not knowing what my future was, and not knowing what was the next thing that I was going to do. So it talks about a young man, 18 years old, on a bus, not knowing anything, just it talked about a young man that was walking down the same road in Chattanooga. Same road. I mean, everybody go down that road. I mean, meaning that it's only one road, at least in my world, that we travel, and most other people travel down that one road, meaning that you travel down the same road, you do the same thing every day, same thing, that you can walk down that road with your eyes closed, and you know where every little tree stump or every little gravel or everything. And I was walking down this road, the same road every single day, and you know where the road is at because it's just one path, one road. Wherever the road ends, that's where you're going. And everybody go that I mean, I didn't say everybody go that way, but in my writing it was saying that I know that this is going to go this way, but I did not want to change because Chattanooga was all I knew, and everybody, I mean, that's just life. That just was the life that I saw. So one day I was walking down this road trying to figure out what I was going to do in life, and I came to a kind of like a fork in the road, just like Robert Frost. Yeah, come to a fork in the road, and I stopped, and I said, wow, I never seen this. So I saw a road going to the right, and I saw a road going to the left, meaning you have 1,000,000 footsteps going straight. This time, when I was walking down thinking, and I saw road like 8 footsteps going to the left, and I saw about 10 going to the right, and 1,000,000 in front of me. At that time, I had what we call a paradigm shift. That it's like, wow, I know what's straight ahead if I continue. I'm afraid to go to the left, and I'm afraid to go to the right because there's no footsteps. But I made a decision right then and there that I was going to go to the left. Yeah, so I followed the 8 footsteps to the left, and I walked that path for about a mile, and a bus came by, and I jumped on the bus. And I was on the bus in my mind, for about 30 minutes, and I looked up, it said Navy. And my path it started out like that, said Navy, and I went into the Navy. And that's where my path began, and that's what that's about.
Mm-hmm. I love it. No, that's great. Because every choice you make takes you. That's how I feel like this book talks about, is that all those choices make you the person that you are today. And I really like there's a chapter toward the end. What's that?
I'm sorry. I said, well, I was going to explain a little bit more because I also created a nonprofit based on that on my path. Is that, and the premise of my path is most people think, and still today, that there is no hope, there is no this. But I believe that if you think that you only got one option, meaning that straight road, the path that everybody, one option, that's the only option that you have, because that's what we're programmed to think, that there are no other options. But when you have a paradigm shift and you see that, wow, it's a road to the left, road to the right, now they become options. And for every option, there are opportunities. But most people don't want to take the risk. So options lead to opportunities. But in the end, you have to make the right choice. And that's what I was saying. When you can make a lot of different wrong decisions until you get it right, as long as you don't make the wrong choice. So my path, from my path, it created my nonprofit called the J.C. Cooley Foundation, which is Options, Opportunities / The Choice Program. Probably should have put that in. I mean, I mentioned that to you a little bit more, but that's where my path led to.
See, what did I tell you? Very positive, very caring person. So I really, like I said, enjoyed speaking with James. We're going to go ahead and take our second break of the podcast. When we come back, we'll be talking a bit more about the nonprofit that he formed. Again, that is the James Cooley Foundation, Options and Opportunities, or the Choice Program. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I will be right back.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco, ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. Let's go ahead and turn our attention back to the interview with author James Cooley.
That's wonderful. So that inspired you to then to create this nonprofit to tell young people that there are options. Am I hearing that correctly?
Absolutely. I mean, by creating this nonprofit, we got a lot of folks behind us. And the nonprofit has grown. We're nationwide, actually worldwide right now. And what we do is I'm a motivational speaker. I go out and I speak, I teach. I get invited to high school. I get invited to organizations. We give away like 30 scholarships a year. I mean, they're not big money scholarships, but they're you can scholarship that you deserve this. So that's where that led to, is being able to go out and help somebody or show somebody else that you can do this, and we reward them if they work hard. at the end, getting them to walk across the stage in front of their peers or et cetera. So that's where that came from. That's where country boy, city boy, I mean, that it developed into this what me and you, what we're talking about today, from that, my path.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about a specific chapter in the book about a teacher who encouraged you to take the test to go to a vocational high school. I want to know if you have yet remembered her name or discovered her name.
That's a very good question, because I get that asked all the time, even on my show. At the time, I was naive. I was 14 years old, and I was just a young black kid in the project, poverty-stricken like everybody else, and you really don't take people seriously. I was told her name is Miss Wilson, but I have not reached out yet to her. But I do believe in, that was the decision point in my life by her, me not knowing that somebody cared. And I did my work, I did this, I did that, but I tried to be funny and class clown and this and that, and you don't think anybody paying attention to my other than the other kids around you. She was my English teacher, and I tell you, when she asked me, was I going to going to the high school that everybody else pretty much was going to go through, as my brothers and sisters, everybody went to that high school right up the street. I said, you're absolutely right. We all do that. And she looked at me. It's the first time somebody ever told me, well, you're not just somebody. You're different. And I'm looking at her like, this lady lost her mind. She lost her mind. And she mentioned, she said, hey, I have taught you for last year or 2 years, and I know what your potential are. I think that you need to consider going to this vocational school, which was like 7 miles from where I live, and plus, I knew that I wasn't going to pass the test. I didn't think that since it was out my area and I had the test to get in. And she told me that she believed that, she said, I have learned to love you. Ain't nobody never told me nothing like that in my life. We did not say love at all in my house. It was never mentioned. That was the first time that a person said, I have learned to love you, and I freaked out. And basically, yes, she encouraged me, and took me to take the test. I took the test. I passed. I got into the school. But I have not dug deep and down and went out. I tried. But I'm going to do it one day. I hope she's still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that story. And there's other points throughout the book where similar things happen. So I really like that you highlight some of that, but then you also took your experiences and created this nonprofit so that you could hopefully make a difference in someone else's life and maybe change the trajectory of their life a little bit.
And I think that we have a lot of the kids that have been a part of my program that I gave scholarship to. Case in point, this year we got 6 of my kids graduating from college, and we talking big colleges. They grew up in my program, and we talking West Point, we talking Boston College, we talking MIT.
That's wonderful.
Spelman, Clark. That's my graduating class this year, because we instill in them that they can. You can, and not just that, but a lot more than that. But I'm proud of this year graduating class. But over the years, I believe that we have inspired a lot, and a lot of great things have happened in my life due to the nonprofit and what we do. I mean, a lot of opportunity. Actually, I mean, the opportunity that I have with you right now probably wouldn't happen. I mean, yeah, unless we did things to give back and try to create the future leaders of tomorrow and try to instill in the next generation that, hey, anything is possible if you believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention that you have a podcast and radio show. Can you give the title again and share a little bit about what you and your co-host speak about on the show?
Oh, yes, absolutely. The title of my radio show is called It's Your Life, meaning that regardless of which generation, which situation, or which circumstances that you're from, regardless of what your job or whatever it is, it's your life. And basically what we try to instill in folks is that it doesn't matter about the job. If you give 110% in everything that you do, and if you feel that you are going through problems and struggles like what we're doing today, to my business leaders, this and that, it's your life. You just have to make the right decisions. And if you need help, you need to reach out for help. So we tape out of every Tuesday out of San Diego and out of Dallas. Nationally. And we are podcasts around the world by at least 7 to 8 different podcasts. It's called Omni Podcast. I don't have all the information in front of me right now. I wasn't expecting this question. But iHeartRadio, radio.com, blog, radio. And our show is picking up steam. We've only been doing this for 3 months now. And, we started out with a radio station. Now we are part of many. We're part of 115 radio stations under Salem Media Group. That is the biggest network in the United States, and so so they like what we do. Seem like the public like what we do. We are every Saturday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time out of San Diego, and at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. of Pacific Standard Time, and 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. out of Dallas, Fort Worth. And podcast it's just aired. So it's aired all around the world every day. And you can also, anybody that want to listen to the show, we record live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can watch it on Facebook Live. You can watch the taping of the show either under Ray Leonard Jr. or either under my Facebook. And but we always looking for exciting guests to come on and tell what they're doing and their businesses and how they are encouraging others, regardless of what situation or circumstances you're from. So we like to share a lot of different things that people are doing worldwide, and we have some fantastic guests that are coming on the show. Have already been on the show. And it's not all about the Hollywood lifestyle, this or that, but we have a lot of those guys on the show. A lot of business guys. Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, Magic Johnson, all of these guys, and others. Business leaders, and just folks that's going to make a difference in the community. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, anybody that's going to make a difference that can encourage, and that's what the show is about. It's your life, and it's all about building up our communities, our states, our nation, our world.
I love that, and you're clearly very passionate about it, which is wonderful. So thank you for sharing a little bit about that.
Let's go ahead and take another break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about what James is working on next. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Book Review Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Book Review Podcast. Over the break, I took the opportunity to drink some yummy tea, so hopefully you maybe did as well, although you're not recording a podcast at the moment. Or maybe you are. I have no idea. Listening to a podcast, recording a podcast. I know you're all multitaskers. I have no idea where I was going with that thought, but let's just go back to the interview, shall we? Because I clearly started a sentence and then couldn't remember where I was going halfway through that sentence. Isolation brain. Good times. Back to the interview with James Cooley.
Are you working on another book or short story or anything right now?
Right now, I just signed a contract, but believe it or not, 2 days ago, with the audiobook for their.
Oh, fun.
And so we are starting to, at the end of this month, we start the process. And it's going to take a couple months, but it should be out by, I say, July 1st is the target date, somewhere right around there. So, and then we also have been contracted to do a follow-on book from Country Boy, City Boy Journey. So we got a lot of things that we have in our bucket, and television, all type of stuff that we are in the process or trying to work out the contracts, if that makes any sense. You know how that is. But we have a lot of stuff that's in the bucket. One thing for sure is the audiobook. That's already done. I mean, it's not done, but I'm talking about the contract is done for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's our next big project, which starts at the end of this month.
That's wonderful. In terms of writing, so growing up, I love in the book you mentioned that you were voted most likely to succeed and class clown. So two definite sides of your personality. But did you ever envision yourself growing up and writing? Or, I mean, how did that come about that you sat down and started writing your experiences and writing, the short stories, et cetera?
I never thought I was smart enough to write anything. But as I matured, I went in the Navy. And I grew, from the bottom. And I served in the Navy in some very high positions, and I was then told that you can do this and do that and all this. I mean, a lot of different things that happened. And then I decided to go to school and get educated, and I discovered that I could do more than what I thought I could do, if that makes any sense. And then I started writing, and a lot of my writings was accepted. And then I decided, well, hey, I want to share this story. So it started out by, not knowing that I was smart enough. A lot of people don't think that they're smart enough to write books and this and that, but it's not really that hard. It's just being able to put your thoughts together. So I learned over, I guess 30 to 40 years that you can, that that you can do anything that you set your mind to.
Thank you. So out of your particular experience then, would you have advice for someone who is maybe thinking about writing, especially writing a memoir or writing encouragement like you write?
Well, my recommendation would be to, if you're thinking that way, if you want to do that, write down your thoughts. Write down a plan. And it might not be in detail like you want it to, but if you're thinking or anything, case in point, I used to be in the bed, sleep, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I get this thought, and then I lay down and I forget about it. And I wake up the next morning, I'm in the morning, and I missed out on opportunities because I did not write it down. So basically, regardless of where you at, if you're thinking about writing a book, when you're doing this or doing that, when your thoughts hit you, you have to write them down. Otherwise, you are going to forget. So in writing, what I do is, even today, I write everything. I think of something, I grab a pen or have a pen, I write it down. Because then when I look at what I wrote down, all the thoughts come back. So you have to be detailed in doing these things, and you have to plan. And do not just let your plan sit, because you got to take some action. You have to just think things out, and you have to figure out what are the building blocks that you need to do to get a writing or a book or whatever out. And you have to focus on what you want the audience to get out of what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. When you take time to read for yourself, do you have specific areas where you like to read, or do you have books that you like to read or that you turn to when you read for yourself?
When I read for myself, I'm a big Maya Angelou fan because I like the encouragement that he provides. I've read President Obama books, love Michelle Obama books, but most of the time that I look for aspiring folks, aspiring authors, or it's people that can relate to everybody. So because that's what my thought process is you got to be careful what you read and what you put in your mind, because junk goes in, and if you're not reading the right material, you're not doing this, it's not junk in, junk out, it stays in. So you have to, my thing is I try to read, and I try to read people that are encouraging, that's inspiring, that I want to be able to sit back and analyze and think about all the things that other folks are doing that are positive. So that's any book that I read, I try to make sure it's positive, and especially with the author.
Thank you. I know you have a website, so if you can share your website and where people might be able to find you on social media, if you have any active social media accounts.
Absolutely, got them all. You can find me on CooleyFoundation.org. That's where the J.C. Cooley Foundation is at. Facebook, James Cooley, Temecler, and JamesCooleyTheAuthor.com. Also, It's Your Life Radio. So those are the primary things. I'm reachable, and you can just go and look me up on the internet, and you can find a lot more ways to contact me. But very, 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 very reachable.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, James, we've talked about a variety of different topics, but is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to highlight now, whether that's in terms of the book or the radio show or writing in general, anything that we haven't covered?
Well, I mean, one thing that I do want the audience to know is follow your dream. I mean, there are going to be many people that's going to tell you that you can't do this and you can't do this. Do not let that get stuck in your mind, because the minute you start believing that you cannot do it, you cannot do it. You know, so, and there are many things that I have not accomplished in my life, but I believe that you can always continue to grow and learn every single day. So always have a open mind and value everyone you talk to, because it's your life, and you have to not just go by what everybody tell you and not just take that for face value. Listen to everything, but you are the one that making the decisions when things happen to you. And I believe that growth, continuous education, continuous faith and belief, that will always give you an opportunity for being better tomorrow. I mean, you always want to learn and have your mindset open so that you can continue to be a better person. And one thing that I want the audience to understand is, do not give up on your dreams. I use a thing that I write in my book called the VUF, which is vision, understanding, and focus. And basically, we all have dreams, and our dreams come from our visions that we have. Even though we might not be able to see the end result, we have to be patient, and we have to focus on one building block at a time. Open-mindedness, education, and follow wisdom, people that's going to make you better. If a person is not going to make you better, I don't believe that you need to be hanging out with them. Hang out with folks and follow folks that's going to make you a better person every day.
Yes, and that actually reminds me a bit of there's a chapter toward the end of your book that's called You Are a Masterpiece. It's only a page and a half, but it's lovely. You remind us that we are beautifully and wonderfully made. We are a masterpiece, and that we should not forget that. So I really appreciate the positivity with which you write, and that you included that chapter.
Absolutely, because each one of us are a masterpiece. We're born with, I mentioned to you earlier about the birthright, which is confidence, courage, hope, belief, and faith. However, God, those are what we call common birthrights, meaning we all are born with those birthrights right there. But God gives us our own fingerprint, where even if you was an identical twin or whatever, you got this thing in you that's different than everybody else, regardless, which makes you a masterpiece. So, but in order for you to discover your purpose in life, you have to dig deep inside, because with the birthright, I believe that we all are born to be successful, but a lot of us never find ourselves. So regardless what anybody tell you, that you ain't this and you ain't that, you are a masterpiece. You were born, and God broke the mold when He made you. But you have to discover your own potential And that sometimes take a long time in life to discover that. But once you discover that, you know that this is your purpose and no one else has this purpose, and you was made specifically for that reason.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your weekend to talk to me. I know that you are busy between, everything that you do, including traveling for the radio shows. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity, and this was absolutely fantastic, and can't wait to hear the final product so we can put this out and let other folks get a better understanding. We are trying to do everything we can to do our part in making our communities, our cities, our state, our nation, our world better, and we are instilling confidence based on past experiences that you can do anything that you set your mind to.
Thank you once again to James for taking the time to talk to me about his book. Once again, it is called Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet. It is a quick read. He writes with such warmth and humor and compassion. It's really just kind of a break in your day, a bit of mindfulness to just sit down and read. The chapters are short, so if you don't have a lot of time, you can sit down and read a couple of pages and read, a quick vignette in this story. So definitely something that you should check out if you are interested in this memoir. Thank you again to James. Thank you as always to you, my listeners. I so appreciate you. I hope that you will join me again on Tuesday when I will be speaking with author Brandy Ferner about her hilarious book, Adult Conversation. If you are a parent or if you have small children in any capacity, whether you're a caregiver or a parent or an auntie or an uncle, whatever, you will appreciate this book. It's making me laugh. I hate to say laugh out loud because I really dislike that particular form of text speak, but it's true. It is making me laugh out loud. And my husband always looks at me weird whenever I am reading a book and I just start cracking up. This is one of those books. So I hope you will join me on Tuesday for that conversation. In the meantime, thank you as always. If you are a fan of this podcast, please do me the favor of following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would love to hear from you there. Also, give us a nice review if you are so inclined. 5 stars would be lovely. A written review is helpful so we can get this podcast out to more bookworms like you. Thank you again. I know I say thank you a lot, but I really am grateful for all of you. So I figure it's better to say thank you more than not enough. So I'm going to say it one more time. Thank you again for joining me for this episode of the GSMC Book Review Podcast. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope that weekend is full of plenty of time to get yourself lost in a good book. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.